We've been painting our home this week and ripping out carpet and getting it ready to move into. And it has been a very long week. So if I seem to be dragging just a little bit, please be patient with me. We read stories all the time about lives that have been changed. Sometimes it's because of a traumatic experience in life. Sometimes because of the kindness of a stranger. And sometimes it's because of unkind words said by another human. There are also stories of change in Scripture. We read them over and over again. The change is due to a little different experience, however. In Scripture, typically, it's from an encounter with Jesus. Think with me for a moment about the woman caught in adultery. Jesus was teaching in the temple, and the Pharisees bring this woman and cast her down before Jesus' feet and say, "Should we stone her? Moses says we should. What do you say?" Jesus bends down on the ground. Right. He stands up again and he says, "Whoever's without sin, throw the first stone." He kneels down again, continues writing. As Jesus concludes his writing, he stands up. No one's there except the woman. What does Jesus say? "Oh, you terrible woman, quit your habits." Not exactly. He says, "Where are your accusers? Neither do I condemn you. Go, sin no more." How about the guy we know by the name of Thomas? Maybe better known as Doubting Thomas. He was one of Jesus' disciples. After Jesus' death and resurrection, Jesus came back and appeared to the disciples. However, Thomas didn't happen to be there the first time. So he comes back to the disciples, and they say, "Jesus was here." And Thomas says, "I'm not going to believe it. No, you guys are off your rocker. Unless I see the nail scars in his hands, and put my finger where the spear went in his side, I will not believe." And what happens next? Jesus appears again. I think probably specifically for Thomas. He says, "Thomas, see? Here are my hands. Put your fingers where my side was pierced." Thomas no longer doubts, but he then carries the message to Asia as a missionary. Spreads the gospel of Jesus. How about this other guy we know as Saul? Saul of Tarsus? He was an ambitious defender of the Jewish beliefs. He persecuted those not following the teachings of the Pharisees. He would round up troublemakers and punish them. He oversaw the stoning of Stephen. He was passionate about stamping out the followers of the way, the Christians. On one particular trip to Damascus, he was going to gather up the followers of Jesus to bring them back to Jerusalem, to throw them in prison, to punish them for this heresy that he was teaching. Then a bright light appears, and Jesus spoke to Saul. Saul then has his men take him on into Damascus, and there Ananias is instructed to go visit Saul. Saul's life is changed forever. No longer is he persecuting. He goes immediately to the synagogue and begins to teach that Jesus is the Messiah. These are all fantastic stories of how lives were changed when they came in contact with Jesus. And there's one common thread through each of these stories. An encounter with Jesus. Each one of these people had an encounter with the Creator, the Redeemer, the life changer. Not one of them cleaned up their life before they came to Jesus either. The woman caught in adultery, she didn't have a chance. She got drug in, probably clinging to her clothing. They were caught red-handed. Sometimes we think we need to straighten up. We need to get some things out of our life before we can come back to Christ, before we come back to church. And I'm not sure where we've gotten this idea. Isaiah chapter 64 and verse 6 says, "All of us have become like one who is unclean, and all our righteous acts are as filthy rags." So friend, if you think you can clean your life up before you come to Jesus, I've got news for you. There's no chance. The best we can do is as filthy rags. We are to come to Jesus just the way we are. He is the one that can clean us up. Now maybe you've heard some Christians say, well, I'm saved by grace. And then they go on to do things that make other Christians shudder. It's as though they've asked forgiveness and believe they are saved and promptly go and fulfill the desires of the flesh because they're free. And I'm under law. Nothing matters anymore. I've been saved. I can do what I want. They come as they are, but they also stay that way. Think with me for a moment about a newborn baby. There's much joy and celebration with the birth. Mom and Dad are exhilarated, exhausted, but thrilled with the entrance of this new life. Now fast forward a year. What happens